Republic attracts people for multiple reasons. But one of those reasons I feel that is rising more and more day by day is mental health and wellness. And that is what it is that the four of us are here to talk about today, is mental health. We are all here in Dominican Republic, and we've all come for different reasons. I'm gonna talk a little bit about what brought me here. A lot of times when people ask me what brought me here, I start my story at the fact that I came on a solo trip, but I don't tell you what made me go on that solo trip in the first place. But there was a lot that happened to me in 2020 and 2021 that got me to the breaking point where I actually hit the emergency stop button at work, acknowledging that I was not okay. And I feel like there's so many times in life that we push through knowing that we are not okay, and we just keep going. And I was great at that. I have a master's in that. That's what it is that I had been doing. That I had gotten to the point that I was so not okay that my body was just screaming at me, and I really and truly had to listen. So in 2020, we all went through COVID. I am an only child. I am an extrovert, lived alone, and my home was my sanctuary. It was my charging pad. But I'm an extrovert. I go out and interact with people. And COVID sent me home in isolation by myself. That was layer number one. Layer number two was Black Lives Matter, and that kind of hit me in two ways. One is a Black female, but two, I was one of the main faces for the Black inclusion group where it is that I worked. And where this was supposed to be a support system for us when we needed it, here we are in the midst of it, and our system I almost felt like the face of a farce. And it really hurt that when we needed it the most, that system was not doing anything for us. I then lost my mom. I had to clear out my parents' home of 52 years in less than 2 weeks. And mentally just processing every single thing that I needed to touch and not really being able to absorb it or process it because I had a time constraint. Then finding out that my closest aunt had cancer in Florida, and because of COVID, I couldn't get there. And then the straw that broke the camel's back for me is when I actually caught COVID. And when I caught COVID, again, living alone, I had a network and a circle of people that were extremely concerned for me. So they were calling me day by day to check up on me and make sure that I was okay. But I was actually using my energy to keep up with all of these messages. And it was draining me. And I knew that COVID was literally killing people. So I said, whatever energy I have, I am really sorry that energy is being used on me right now. And for the first time in life, I told everybody to just go away. I sat in silence for 4 days. No TV, no music, no people, nothing. Just complete silence. And my voice, I started to hear my own voice again. And my own voice was saying, you are not okay. And you need to take time off and process things that happened way back when, and think things that are happening right now for you. So I did. And I promised myself that if I took that time off, I was actually going to invest in a therapist, which I did. And I went to regular sessions, and I did my homework. And for those 3 months that I took off, I decided I was going to end it with a solo trip. I ended up on DR. And then everything just went in a completely different direction. I literally just came down here for vacation, and I was not expecting anything that transpired when I got here, and that just kept me coming back. That was August 2021, and then November 2021, I lost that aunt to cancer. And I came back down here for the month of December because I still had grief from my mom that I needed to process. I had all these other things that I needed to process. And so I took a full month and came down here for a month and just lived locally, under the sun, in the water, fresh food, and something changed. So today we are joined by 3 other people. One that, Justin, thank you so much for coming.
For sure.
Being able to speak about mental health, but also being able to speak from the male perspective on mental health. because I feel there are very few that feel like they are comfortable to be able to speak up and be vulnerable about what it is that they have gone through or are going through. And we are also being joined by two mental health professionals, Quay and Java. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves as to.
I'm Quay. This is my second career. Been doing it now for about 13 years. Of course, proficient in all ways for depression, anxiety. My main niche is Christianity, and that's what truly brought me here to this field. And if you're not Christian, I still use principles. CBT is a great therapeutic therapy, and it's also biblically aligned, and so we're good with the techniques that I use, whether you're Christian or not Christian.
And CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Quay.
Yeah.
Java.
I am Java. I'm a licensed professional counselor, specialized in trauma, especially trauma in children, where I use trauma-focused therapy with them. For years, 12 years, I was doing that, and what got me here was I was tired of hearing the bad news. And I kind of felt like, I don't remember which witch it is in The Wiz that sings, "Don't nobody bring me no bad news." So I am retired, but I take on private clients in the interim until God says, "Okay, you're totally done."
Okay.
Yeah, but I walked away from the career.
Okay, I can only imagine
Yeah,
what that was like taking that home.
yeah.
Okay. Justin, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so Justin, also known as I Am Justified, I'm an artist, father, was a teacher. Started off my career just speaking about how God healed me from depression and used music as a tool to set me free from that depression. And so in the midst of that, that was like my banner that I would go from when I first started to now being 10 years as an artist, internationally traveling, performing from schools to churches to bars to restaurants all over the world, So that was my story, just letting people know that they are justified, they are affirmed, they're already good enough, they're already approved. And so I just use that joy through music, and that's what I've been doing.
So you actually speak about mental health through your music.
Yeah, a lot more I would say would be in some of my beginning music, because it was like when I was kind of going through it, and it was like my mantra and my therapy.
Okay.
So a lot of people who kind of like first start listening to me, they're kind of like, oh, I can see your story from the beginning to kind of going now. And even to like today, I have a project, it's called Evolution, because we're constantly evolving. And so I would just take them through the different evolution phases of my life. And so this particular project is called Evolution 4. Okay. And so just basically, the number 4 being very symbolic. And also just a part of my life of how like I'm evolving to another phase of myself, to that number 4 version of myself. So yeah.
Okay. Now, it sounds like we have something in common. Music, dancing.
Yes.
That's my therapy.
Come on.
That's been my therapy since day one.
Nice.
And unfortunately, in the Toronto scene, where I used to be able to go and dance and just let loose and be in the middle of the dance floor, it became taboo. Yeah. And it became an environment where you kind of posed up against the wall, and it was more about what you had on and what it is that you were drinking. Yeah. That was what the scene evolved to. So I very much stood out when I would want to go to the middle of the dance floor and just dance. Okay, I can tell you with my dad's funeral in 2012, the funeral was in the morning, and I mean everybody had something to say, but I was in the club at night.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in the club to drink and carry on. Yeah. I was in the club because that was my therapy. That is how I was getting out whatever it is that I was feeling without having to speak to anybody, without having to interact with anybody, but at the same time having fun.
Yeah.
And also singing. I mean, I can't sing, but I enjoy doing it.
Yeah. In the shower sounds good.
The acoustics are phenomenal. How did you discover music being therapy for you? Because I mean, there's when we talk about therapy, a lot of times we think about registered therapists going to,
Yeah.
but music and dancing is also therapy. How did you discover that for you?
You know what's interesting is like I have to just give credit to God because like I was really like used to do a lot of writing, and like I found music way later in my life, like when I was like 20, maybe like 24, 25 is when I like started doing music. You know, most people they start music when they were like way younger, or when they little kids, but it really wasn't a thing. I was always into entertaining and hosting. That's what I was doing first, was hosting and doing interviews. And when I went through that season from just writing to one day I was going, when I was in that dark season of depression and going through that season, I remember like kind of writing things down and like I had a little beat kind of playing because I always was a fan of rap and music, and it was just kind of something for myself.
Okay.
And a friend actually walked in because I was in the condo at the time, and he was like, hey, who is that? I'm like, oh, no. He's like, no, who is that? I'm like, oh, that's me. I'm just messing around some stuff over here, just messing around. He like, nah, bro, that's dope. I'm like, for real? He like, yeah. And just, again, by words of affirmation. Him just saying that, it like planted a seed, and I was like, dang. So then this is when Instagram was like 15 seconds. So I posted it. This is like that's what I remember. That's when I posted that first video on Instagram with like 15 seconds, and I got a few comments, and some likes about it. And I was like, oh dang! And it wasn't me. It was just a song. And I'm like, oh dang! And so once then, I'm always like been a very motivated, self-motivated person, and I got once I seen a little bit of inspiration, I started moving from it.
Okay.
And it just kind of like went from there, and then everything just kind of flowed. Yeah.
I love what you said. Journaling, music, dancing, all therapeutic, right?
Yeah.
I think you say writing, but it's journaling, right? It's getting your thoughts out, getting it out of your head.
Yeah.
And it's been scientifically proven that it works,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good work.
That's true. Yeah. And it's so interesting because it was something that I didn't even realize that I was doing, but like you said, it's actually therapeutic principles that I was applying, not even knowing it, and just the speaking it, the writing it out, the hearing it, and then hearing yourself doing
That's
it.
right.
It's like affirming yourself, and then of course, who doesn't want to, when people hear you and then they're applauding you, and then you're able to connect and see how it's changing other people's lives. It just inspires you more. I remember going to do shows at schools and kids coming like just saying how those words changed their life and how they were battling depression and they were going through things, and how some of those songs helped brought them life, and those are the moments that I always try to stay grounded on and remember as an artist. So from that, it's just always been another thing. Another thing is working out too. Like the gym has been my therapy too. It's been my church really, because I'm always there, and sometimes it's not even like going hard on the workout. I might just be doing something like doing some stretches, It's all those things I feel like put together has kind of just like been like a gumbo that has helped me to evolve as a person, because going through depression, and it's I know sometimes people can kind of say it's taboo, but it's a scary, dark, painful, and lonely place to be in. And I know that if anybody was going through that, you do feel alone. You feel like, where do I go? Who do I talk to? Or you don't talk to anybody.
Right.
And one of the biggest things that I've learned, and even though we hear people saying it, but people still don't talk about it like that, is when you talk about it with the right person, get the right advice, it is so relieving. I lost my best friend from depression, and this was the same person that spoke to me about my music. The person who told me, hey, I like that song, didn't tell me
what they were going
that
through.
he was going through.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, this is what I do. This was, and rest in peace to Daryl Allen. I wrote about him in my book called Live on Purpose, because he was somebody who I would have never thought. And he helped me when I was in my darkest season. And I'm like, bro, you see me going to schools, you see me doing this, you can talk to me. But that lets you know that even the person who helped you, the person who's the closest to you, who's extremely successful, that it doesn't matter. You would never know, but he just never talks. And so he ended up taking his life. And I have so many situations with people like that around me that it's like sometimes people may think you're too busy or whatever. You gotta talk. Even if they gonna say whatever, it's better to let it out and talk to that person because those words can change your life. That words can give you life. So, yeah.
How, as a male, were you able to find somebody that you could trust? And I say that because you talk about talking to the right people. I find that, and I'm speaking as a woman based off what it is that I've heard, that men find it that much harder to be vulnerable and to open up about what it is that they're going through. So knowing that there could be somebody watching right now that is going through something.
Yeah.
What suggestions, what advice, and this goes for all of you, would you give to anybody? But I think our men are going through a lot right now and they don't have, what advice would you give or suggestions would you give?
Man, that's a tough one. I would say it has to be somebody that you definitely are connected with. Somebody that you definitely could trust your girlfriend around. If you can't trust your girlfriend around, then it's probably not the best person.
Okay.
If you can't trust this person with money, it's probably not the best person.
But you know, Justin, I think a lot of times though, people, especially as a man, I got this.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to have this. I'm not supposed to feel like I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so even getting to a place of acknowledgement that I don't have the answer. I don't know what to do. I don't know.
Right.
Really starts the ability to have a conversation to move forward. Recognizing, and it's okay that you don't have the answer. You don't have to know everything. Yes, I'm the head of this household. Yes, I got this woman and these kids dependent upon me. Yes, I go to work. I'm the teacher that's in front of all these students. But I don't have to know everything.
And you're still a man.
Still a man.
Right?
Still a man.
A good man.
A good man.
Right.
Yeah.
So how would the two of you suggest going about maybe finding a professional that would be able to help? Like, so let's say you've got somebody back in North America, wherever they are in the world right now, and they are struggling. And being vulnerable is something that they also struggle with. Being able to put their hand up and say that I need help or I want help is hard for them. Where would you suggest that they start to be able to find somebody that they can see? Is there even a connection there? And what other advice would you have for them?
So if you're, it can get expensive, one, if you're constantly switching and going to different therapists and things like that.
Okay.
It would definitely be, you know, asking a friend if they have a recommendation.
Okay.
Maybe looking for free or online support groups where you can walk in anonymously and not necessarily, you know, if it's online, like I can come in anonymously. No one knows me. No one knows this status quo that I'm supposed to hold. So I can go in and I can speak my truth and nobody be like, oh, that was Justin. I know exactly who that was. You know, that kind of thing.
I love that, John.
Yeah.
I love that.
And is there anything, because I know for me as a black female, I started off looking for a black therapist. It is not who I found. And I'm very extremely grateful to who it is that I found because I would not be here without her. But I was not able to find a black therapist that I was able to connect to. Is there any sort of mental health organizations within the black community? Because I feel like sometimes the things that we are going through, it is hard for those outside of our community to be able to understand and empathize and guide us through. So, speaking specifically to the black community right now, is there any resources that you might be able to think of offhand that a male could go, not necessarily have to divulge who they are, not necessarily have to put their hand up, or maybe they do, but at least it's something that can resonate with them directly?
That's a very good question. I mean, like there are online like you can go in, like on Psychology Today, you can go in, you can say, hey, I want an African American therapist, I want a male, I want them to be able to specialize in this, and then I also need them to accept this type of insurance or this type of payment. I want to be able to do online, or I want to be able to do in person, and you know, they have the little icons you can click and go through.
Okay.
But
And I'm sorry, what was that website?
Psychology Today.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Outside of that, again, it would kind of be word of mouth from your community. I know that in the community that I come from, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek area, there is like a consortium for Black folks and therapists. That is a resource that you can go to and kind of do the same thing. When you call, you say, hey, I only want a male, I want an older person, or whatever, whatever. And they kind of help, and it's getting better when you call up for therapy, like if you call HelpNet, like, or use your, what is the one through the employer? The EAP.
EAP, yeah.
Yeah, you can also say, hey, I want an African American. I want them to be male. I want them to specialize in depression, or I want them to specialize in anxiety. You know, so it's getting better. But again, you have to be willing to say it. You gotta be willing to.
I think that's to your first point. You have to admit that something is wrong, and I think that's probably the challenge. But once you get there, I think the resources are there, right? blacktherapy.com. You can get Black therapists, mostly women, but I'm sure you can get a Black male. But yeah, I think the first issue is just accepting that you need help, and I think. And we haven't talked about it yet, but I think addictions are probably a rising thing. And I'm not just talking about drugs and alcohol. I'm talking about gambling, shopping, we internet. Like we tend numbing on your phone,
everything,
right? We tend to try to check out at any moment, and we tend to hold on to those things. So I think, the resources are there, but the first step is just to say, I can't stop.
Yeah, and I would say too, like as a male, I think it's not easy because, you know, being a man, you know, and to admit or to even say that out loud because it's a weakness. And as a man, we don't want to.
It's viewed as a weakness. It's not weakness.
Right. It's not.
Yes, it's viewed as, or we've been told, you know, from growing up that little boys don't cry. Suck it up. Be a man. Put your chest out. But no,
it hurts.
Let me cry. Let me cry.
Let me feel it.
Thank you for correcting that. It's viewed as a weakness, and because of that, we do this. And so I just hope to encourage any man out there, you know, that once I did open up, once I did release it, once I did say it, it actually gave me power over it. You know what I'm saying? And once you take that power over it, you're able to look down on it and then conquer it and be able to help other people. And I also feel like finding like purpose or serving or service, it helps as well to continue to giving back, continue to do something outside of yourself. It helps to kind of start shifting that mindset, but just admitting it and just letting it be out, you know, and talking about it. Just even me talking about it right now, and this is something I went through, I think it started in 2011, and I mean in and out of psych wards. I'm talking about medication.
How old were you then, Justin?
I was, this was like 23
years old?
23, 24.
Okay.
Yeah, 23, 24, yeah. So, you know, and in that time, again, like, I knew something was up, and the best thing that I would say is I can't hold much. If I'm thinking about something, I'm gonna talk about it. You know, just like what I would say when I was in Colombia, and I was like when I talk about, so that will help me to be able to vocalize it out. And I had another friend who went through a divorce, and when he went through the divorce, his whole life was dependent on this divorce. His family, his kids, and so he was really in that place feeling like he was about to lose himself. And he called me and told me, bro, I don't know what I'm gonna do, bro. I don't feel like I have a reason to live no more. And I wanna drive off this freeway. I said, bro, let me tell you something, bro. Let's stay on this phone. I started praying. I say, look, do me one favor. Just keep driving and drive to my house. He was in San Antonio. This was like 3.5 hour drive. I said, if you can just drive to my house live another day and see
That's
how
a
it goes
friend.
after that.
That's a
I'm gonna stay on the
friend.
phone with you, bro. I got you. So he drove, and I say, just stay on the phone and just drive. We just talking about whatever, 2 hours away, 1 hour away. And he ended up coming to my house, and man, he ended up moving. He ended up staying with me, actually.
Positive environment.
Who wants to go home after that?
And so
Yeah.
now, fast forward, even though he and I don't speak as much now, he's newly engaged and moving forward with his life.
He was able to
And
get
he was
through
able to
it.
get through
He
it.
was
And
able to
so
get through it.
sometimes we come in people's lives like that as a season, and I'm always grateful and thankful to be used in that type of way, because I know what it feels like. And the thing is and some days are good days and some days are bad days, but don't we all have those?
That's right.
Absolutely.
I'm not the champion to say I got it all figured out, and it's a daily refreshing my mind, renewing my mind. I have a routine in the morning. I don't care how long I go out. I don't care what I do when I go out. I get up in the morning. I have my devotion that I do. I have my affirmation that I do. I make my chat GPT work. My chat GPT work.
That is also a good resource.
I put my chat. I got the paid version. I put mine to work. That thing be working.
That's what's up.
I think you were gonna say something.
So yeah, no, I was gonna say how do you, when you come into environments with other men, how do you normalize vocalizing, I need help? When again, it's being viewed as a weakness, but really there's strength in that, because if I got you and I got you and I got you and I can pull on all of that, I'm stronger now than when I was by myself. So how do you take what you've gained, right, and normalize it amongst your people to then spread the gospel?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what's cool about my crew, even though I'm here and they're in Houston and Georgia and North Carolina, we have a space to where we be on the phone and I'm like, man, I don't know, I ain't been on my note. My thoughts is just not really in the right vibe, man. Like, I don't know. I just feel weird, man. I don't know. Something's up. Oh, what's going on, bro? Like, what's the problem? Like, we create that culture with me and my homies. We talk about
You have that kind of
we
circle.
have that kind of circle.
You have that kind of circle.
And I feel like we talk about sports all the time. We spend a lot of time talking about women, Believe it or not, me and we talk about women all the time. We talk about y'all all the time. We be on the phone just talking about y'all. Just talking about y'all.
Clear the air.
Just talking about y'all. Man, you see that? Yeah, man, she's cool. Man, look what she posted on Instagram. We talk about y'all all the time. So in that midst of that conversation, just slide in there. Man, I don't know, man. My thoughts been out. I'm gonna hit the gym and kind of just clear my mind. I need to go out tonight, man. Get my mind off of work or whatever it is. Just creating that culture of just being transparent and saying it. Because every time you vocalize it, regardless, as long as you're taking that authority and power over it, as long as you're coming from a place of just letting it be known what it is, that's really the biggest step. It's like vocalizing that,
Can we take it a step back though?
Yeah.
Because I think vocalizing it is one thing once you come to the realization that you need help, right? I think you come to the realization and then you have to put your hand up. It's getting to the realization. And so I think you even talked about, some of the addictions that people can have, and they might think, yeah, I'm good,
Numbing.
I'm fine. But they're numbing, right? So what are some things that maybe if you're experiencing it, if you're thinking it, if you're doing it, those are things that might be signs that you might want to put your hand up or you might want to seek help? Because I feel like with my point, it was a breaking point. Like there was a lot. And I feel like if I didn't have that a lot, I would have just kept going. I wasn't okay, but I would have just kept going. So what are some things, I know for me, it was eating. That was my addiction. So I needed to acknowledge me getting to almost 400 pounds, had a gastric bypass when I was 28 and thought, I'm healed, I'm good. But I never actually made the connection as to why I was eating in the first place. So I gained it all back and then had to get to the point to realize something is wrong.
Right.
So what are some other actions that people might be, I mean, we talked about gambling, we talked about shopping, we talked about numbing on the
Right,
phone.
right.
This is a thing. So
So,
your screen time on your
Yeah.
phone, if you actually go into that app and take a look at how much time you're spending on your phone,
That's right.
that could be an indication. But I mean, one of the things you talked about on the website is being able to check off anxiety, depression. What if I don't even know what it is that I am going through and what it is that I'm experiencing? I don't know how to put a name to it, to even put my hand up and say, this is the kind of help that I need. I don't know anything about cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay.
So if I'm in that space where I feel like something's wrong, what are some things that maybe I can internally look at to let me know, you know what, maybe I should put my hand up.
I like Justin's idea. You can type it into ChatGPT to say, hey, I oftentimes don't want to wake up. Okay. I love staying in my bed all day. I don't want to hang out with my friends anymore. I find myself just wanting, to have multiple cocktails in a day. Putting in things like that. Or lately, I don't know how to budget my money. I've been erratically spending.
Right.
I've been giving away a bunch of things that mean a lot to me.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
it will help you to
Yeah.
reframe, because it's going to say, hey, have you looked at depression?
Okay.
Have you looked at maybe bipolar disorder? Have
Okay.
you looked at, and then from there, again, being inquisitive to ask the questions. Oh, well, what is this bipolar disorder that you
Okay.
speak of,
Okay.
And asking more questions. What are the symptoms? How long does it last? Or am I just having an adjustment disorder?
Right.
Okay.
For the last 6 weeks, these things have been going on. And, I want to do things differently, but for whatever reason,
I can't.
I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not happening. I
That's
can't
a
wake
good-
up. I can't get out of bed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe noticing and shifting your own behavior, the
Right.
things that you would do without thinking are now, the daily things are now a struggle.
Right. And I would also say probably your closest loved one.
Yep.
If they are saying something or they're noticing something, or I love when I say, I would tell clients, depression is like a squashing of your voice. Have you not been talking to anybody? If I asked your wife, what's up with you? Would she tell me that you were fine?
When really you know you're not.
Right. And so you'd be like, oh, Java's good. You'd be like, and Java would be like, I am not. That's, right? That's
Okay.
her red flag.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I am talking all well about my spouse and he's like, oh no, I'm not good.
Okay.
Because he's not expressing it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of men do not express it. And so if that is the case, that's a red flag.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel blessed to be in the Dominican Republic.
Me too.
Me too.
I feel extremely blessed to be here. I went from the corporate world where I had benefits and I had EAP and I had all of these resources readily available to me. And it also lived in a world where I don't feel there's a stigma around mental health. To now being in the Dominican Republic where I'm entrepreneur world, don't have those benefits, don't have EAP, and had to shift my mindset as to what other resources were available, especially being in a country where I don't think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, tap in here, I don't think mental health issues are as prevalent here as they are in North America for speed of life, for food, but just how life is on a daily basis, especially having God ingrained in the culture. So I almost feel like the life here is a little almost proactive, like the way that you're living your daily life already contributes to balancing your mental health, where they don't have to be so reactive, and it's not about prescriptions and medication. It is really about living life out here. Can you talk to me a little bit about the things, the resources that are available down here that are different? So that if you are having challenges with mental health, what are some things that you can do here in the Dominican Republic? Because I even acknowledge there are a lot of vets that are coming down here specifically to Dominican Republic. So can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Well, I was going to say, we do have vet clinics for vets. I think it's still catered to the Western, the North America society, right? if you look at the World Index on mental health, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Cuba, all of them are at the low bar, whether we have low data or not, right? And so it's not an issue, in quotes, here. So I think those resources are available to us. If the vet center, they don't only accept vets, they take everyone else.
Okay,
right?
okay.
And then you can pay cash or whatever.
Okay.
That's probably, and they do have local therapists here too.
Okay.
Yes.
But I also like the idea of what Justin said, helping or creating a regimen. Being able to create a regimen. There are apps that they could use, like the app that I had most of my clients use was called Insight Timer.
Okay.
It's a free app on your phone. You can do sound bowls, you can do meditations, you can do live, they have live webinars with the paid subscriptions. There's of affirmations on there that you can do daily, and you can set it up when you come into the app. It asks you like, what's your goal here? What are you trying to do? How many times a day are you trying to do it, or how many times a week? And how long do you want to spend doing it? Is it a 10-minute thing or is it an hour thing?
Okay.
So you kind of set it up, and it will give you reminders. Hey, it's time for Insight Timer.
Okay.
You know, come meditate with me or something like that.
Okay.
Here also we have the beaches, which are wonderful.
Yes.
You know, taking a walk along the beach, joining communities around.
For sure.
If you're a family oriented, if you have family here, there are family oriented communities on WhatsApp and Instagram and things like that. Just kind
You're
of
going to the beach.
just sit there,
Grounding.
ground on rest.
Gym,
Yep.
journaling,
Yes.
music.
Yep.
I love all that.
I actually-
dancing. I even love
Dancing,
because
that's
that
true.
was my thing. When I went through my first divorce, I used to go to the club like you,
Yes.
stand right in front of the speakers,
Yes.
and get sweat funky is what I call it.
Yes.
Sweat funky. And I would go home and I would like on all angles. It was like. I
Yes.
feel so much better, just to get it all out.
Yes.
It works.
And that was part of what I gravitated towards down here, because when I actually got a chance to go out to the clubs here, I was like, you guys are dancing here. Like you're really dancing here. So I stack, I think. So I will go to the gym with music and I dance while I'm working out.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm stacking all of that at once to get that energy and that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, all at once. Especially going walking. We talked earlier on about hugging trees.
You know, and I come from a community that's in the SAD region, which means seasonal affective disorder.
Okay.
So that like we get more not Sundays than we get Sundays.
Yes.
So 9 months out of the year it's dark.
Yes.
It's gloomy, it's cold, it's all
Same
the
for
things.
Canada. Same for Canada. Yeah.
So to come here now and I have a daily dose of vitamin D, which I would have to go to the tanner there in January, February. I was at the tanner trying to get that
vitamin
boost.
D.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll have the light at your desk. There's a light.
I have
there, too.
I had actually a picture frame with the light, so I would turn it on when I would get up in the morning, and I would lay there under my picture frame. But it was a mood light.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a
Yes.
mood light, and then get up because I'm waking up. It's dark outside.
Yes.
I'm in and out of buildings during the day, and then when I would come home, it's dark outside.
Yeah.
So you had a picture frame that would reflect light?
It gives off the UVB rays.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that I could my mood because I was depressed during those times. Yeah.
Okay. I had things like a weighted blanket.
Yes. Oh.
Had one of those.
I created a nervous system room. So some of the things that I found would trigger my anxiety is calling the cell phone company. I don't know what it is about calling. I'm calling you out, Rogers. I don't know what it is about calling Rogers that would trigger my anxiety. So I actually created like a nervous system room where I had a weighted ball. And where I was on hold having these conversations, I would sit and I would exercise. So there was different things that I'm learning now you can do that you don't have to leave your house. And it doesn't have to cost you a penny.
Right.
And you don't have to put your hand up. There are so many resources that can help you, whether you are in DR or you are outside of DR. Now, is there anything mental health wise that we haven't spoken about that you really wanted to make sure was mentioned? We talked about a lot.
I want to say that that it's a continuum. It's not like you mentioned a one and done. It's not like I have to go for all year, every week, all year round.
Right.
I can go for a couple months and I can stop for 6 months and maybe come back for 2 or 3 weeks. I can stop for another 8 months and then you know what I mean. It doesn't have to be.
It's not a destination.
It's a journey. And so I might jump in, I might jump out. I might jump in, I might jump out. I might do other things in between actually doing a one-on-one session with a therapist.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It
I get
doesn't.
you.
Yeah.
I get you. I think some people don't understand. They've never been to therapy, so they don't know what it's like. And so even, it's not that you're going and somebody's going to fix you.
Right.
Okay, it's a guided, I feel almost like a guided journey, like you have a tour guide.
Right.
But it is your responsibility to do the work. And that is really the hard part, because you can go and have a session and they tell you all these really great things to think about and do, and then you hang up and you go back to your busy life and you don't do anything or process anything. So
it's funny that you say that, because I would tell my clients coming in, I am that person that I'm going to give you homework. And if you're telling me that you want to see change, it's important that you do the things I'm telling you to do outside of this session. Because this session is, like you said, it's just me giving you the recipe.
Correct.
So I need you to go into the kitchen
and bake
that cake,
Yeah.
measure it up,
Yes.
tell me how it came. Was it moist enough? Was it too dry?
Right.
So it's on you. You got to be willing to do the work with me. I'm not here to tell you what to do.
correct.
I'm not going to do that ever, because that's not my job. You're the healer. You're going to heal yourself.
And it empowers you to know, yes.
It's within you.
Yes.
It's really within you. And I promise you, I'll take you gently through and just give you a little suggestion here. Well, what would happen if you were to confront your sister? What's the worst that could happen? Okay, let's play that out. Let's role play it. I'll be your sister.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
That kind of thing. So it is important to know it's not going to be a one and done. It's important to know that it doesn't have to be a forever continual thing, but it is a continuum. It continues. And it builds.
You have different seasons that you go through with different things that are going to trigger different things and bring up different things.
Because I might have came in for anxiety, but then, the source of this anxiety is maybe some PTSD that I didn't deal with. And then that PTSD, I'm being re-triggered constantly because I'm looking at the person that engaged in and my family is forcing me to engage with this person. Okay, once I've dealt with that, now it's like, okay, how do I now change my affect? I have to do some affect regulation. I have to do some cognitive reframing because, okay, if I were that person that was physically assaulted, do I think I'm never going to be touched physically again? So now I got to reframe how I view being physically touched. You know?
I get you. I get you completely.
So much, right?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Now, Java, you said you are semi-retired.
Yes. I'm retired, but I do limited sessions.
Okay, and if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, if they are watching this and your energy resonates with them and they wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
You can call me, you can inbox me. I mean, you can put my information up there.
Okay.
Not my phone number.
No,
my inbox.
Your inbox.
My inbox.
Okay,
Yes, to the
all right.
inbox.
And can you just remind us again, what are some of the types of therapy that you specialize in?
Trauma, depression, anxiety, like you said, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay.
I do a lot of mindfulness work.
Okay.
Because I feel like when you can get your emotions regulated, you can handle whatever that thing is in front of you. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Quay, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you.
I guess my DM
Your
would
DM,
be nice.
social media?
Yeah,
Okay.
social media. I think Java really said it so eloquently. But yeah, cognitive behavioral therapy, depression, anxiety, OCD, eating disorders, like you name it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I do want to touch on another thing. I think change is good. We don't change through the hammer. We change through grace and mercy, and it's so cultural intuitive, right? But giving yourself grace is probably how we change best.
I've heard
And long lasting.
I've heard you can't heal where you were hurt. I don't know how true that is, but I think a big part of being brought out. I heard that. All right, that's episode number 2.
Because there are some people, but here's the thing, because I was a trauma specialist and I really focused on kids.
Right.
Kids are in an environment that their parents put them in, right?
Yeah.
And even with my own son, like being in an environment where his biological mother is a continual drug addict, like he can't change that. He's a kid.
Got you.
So, but there's still healing that can happen
Understood.
in that environment where things are still happening.
Okay. All right, I stand corrected.
I know.
That's why we have the professionals here.
Because we know how it feels.
We know,
and you
right.
can't-
It feels like it.
can't
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
healing.
Fair.
Right? And we understand.
Yes.
Fair.
Yeah.
Because I will say being able to disconnect did a lot for me. That I wasn't having to balance anything, think about anybody else. I really could just go in and focus on what it is that I was trying to work on inside.
And that's
of me.
why I feel like the work that I was doing was so important, because again, I was dealing with a lot of kids at the time, and they don't get a choice.
Right.
They can't leave that stepdad
Right.
or that stepmom
Right.
that's come into this household. Like, I still got to deal with this woman.
I got you.
Okay, now let me give you some different skills, some different tools in your tool bag, so when she's talking to you like this,
That
and
is-
it's making you feel,
Right.
That is really interesting
How
because
do you live?
yeah.
Yeah.
the very first therapist that I ever went to, I sat there, and I probably was in my early 20s as well. And I sat there for 45 minutes. I did my session, and I mean, I am 45 now, so this is over 20 years ago, and I remember it being like $165 then
Right.
an hour
Yeah.
for 45 minutes for the session. And so the session finishes, and the therapist looked at me and he said, I pretty much cannot help you while you are still living in that environment. So until you come out of that environment, there's nothing that I can do for you. And I actually thought that was his way of saying, you know, I don't think you can afford me. I was like, I have the money, I can pay. And he was like, no, really,
Wow.
I can't help you while you're in that environment. So that actually is what prompted me, a big part, to pick up and move.
Wow.
Because I didn't feel like I was going to be able to get the help that I needed, or that I could make the advancements that I needed to make still being in the environment.
It's unfortunate that he was
Right.
limited,
Right.
because there's like motivational interviewing that you can do. There's the mindfulness that I talked
Right.
about. Like, because again, what happens if I don't have that choice?
It's
if I
true.
don't have that option,
It's true.
I can't just pick up and leave. If I'm dependent upon this man for my household,
Right.
but I don't want to be with them anymore.
Yeah,
But
Yes.
Right, and what is more powerful than someone sitting with you through
through it.
Yes.
And I want you to think about it like that. Java, you mentioned it. What is wrong with his limitations that he couldn't do that for you?
Understood.
Yeah.
Right, this is his issue, is really what I'm saying.
Yes.
In that,
Understood.
right? Because, but how unfortunate as a 23-year-old, how that must have felt that he wasn't able to help you.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
maybe
nothing
you're-
that-
right. It was so overwhelming to him.
Yes.
Understood.
Right.
And so that could also be
Mhm.
seeking a therapist outside of the community and not
Yes.
necessarily being able
Yes.
to resonate or relate.
Right.
So
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, getting a new therapist.
I did. I did.
Oh, right away.
I did. I did. I absolutely did. Justin,
Yeah.
from your music that I find other people could probably be able to resonate with, maybe be able to identify some emotions hearing you sing about it.
Yeah.
How can somebody get in touch with you or hear your music?
For sure. I would say, just even having this talk, and just thinking over my life of how many, men I've been able to connect with, whether it be friends and their lives help in those areas. I'll even say, they can shoot me a DM as well. I'll be open to talk to men that are going through things and need someone to talk to and kind of need that, just some advice, not from a certified, area, but a relatable area that they could,
Understood.
somebody who went through it, who again, for me, just giving my life examples of how I've been able to go through it and things like that. So definitely just shoot me a DM. I am justified on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be dope. One other thing I would say too,
Yes.
that we didn't hit on, is it's okay if you need medication.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
We have this thing
Oh, yeah.
that like, listen,
Oh, yeah.
listen. I'm not the banner of a person who's like, hey, even though I am a licensed health insurance agent, I do sell health insurance. I'm a person where if I can do it without medication, as long as you have some good vitamins and protein, then go. But if you are prescribed, if they tell you that you need to take some medication,
Right.
take the medication.
Right.
And it may not be forever.
And it's not-
Right.
yeah,
It may not be
listen,
forever.
I took the medication.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking I didn't need it, I thought I was too spiritual. I'm saved. I don't need no medication. Listen, Jesus rolled with people that were prescribing medicine. So it's okay. So I started noticing when I didn't take the medication that I would go back.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started noticing, like, wow, like this medication actually helped me. And then once you take it, you get off of it. You don't have to take it forever.
Right.
And then you're good, because even like you said, it's a lot of veterans moving down here. And I believe that even if we were to really be open with taking medication, we probably can just not go through a lot of stuff we probably seeing going through. So
Fair.
it's okay.
Very fair.
Even if it's not forever, it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you to all of you for being here.
Pleasure.
And
Do you want to talk about salt, sand, and stillness?
For those of you who are here locally or are thinking about coming down, we have certain days of the month where we do certain activities. And the first Sunday of every month, we are doing salt, sand,
And stillness.
and stillness. Thank you. So for the first Sunday of every month, we are doing salt, sand, and stillness. And it is our way of providing a safe space for mental health, for you to be able to come out to the beach. You can ground your feet in the sand. You can get some vitamin D. You can be surrounded by a positive environment. You can get into the water. It is just a therapeutic day that we are sharing as a community. So again, first Sunday of every month, salt, sand, and stillness. Maybe I will see you there.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.